This is Business Week Armenia, ＳիվիլՆեթ's weekly economic digest. Here's what's making business headlines in Armenia this week. Armenia's business community is stepping up its criticism of the government's move earlier this year to double taxes on small businesses, announcing this week it had already collected more than 2,300 signatures from entrepreneurs on a petition demanding the policy be repealed. We are recording these signatures because there should not be a monologue here, but a dialogue. Petition organizer Hayk told Radio Azaduchun, RFCRL's Armenian service. On January 1st, changes came into force that doubled Armenia's turnover tax, a special form of tax that businesses with annual sales of less than $295,000 pay instead of sales tax, from 5% to 10%. While that is still significantly lower than the 18 to 20% rate leveled on large enterprises, small business owners say the changes will still lead to mass closures. To that end, entrepreneurs have held a series of protests in front of government offices this year, but to no apparent avail. There was no immediate response to the signature campaign from the government, which, for its part, has previously said the move is needed to boost transparency and simplify Armenia's notoriously complex tax administration. Officials forecast the changes will allow the government to collect at least $46 million in additional revenues every year. In an attempt to tamp down on growing criticism, the government has introduced a 6-month support program for small businesses, but entrepreneurs say the temporary aid package falls well short. However, the turnover tax hike is far from the only financial issue roiling Armenia these days. In late 2022, lawmakers approved a bill introducing a mandatory universal income declaration system, citing the need to crack down on tax evasion. Previously, only senior government officials were required to file financial disclosures. Under the initial rollout plan, more than 700,000 people would have to file by May 1st. But amid growing public frustration over difficulties with the electronic filing system, Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan decided earlier this year to postpone that deadline to November 1st. However, that move has so far not stifled public opposition to the changes, prompting opposition lawmakers this week to introduce a bill abolishing the income declaration system altogether. Pashinyan's party, which holds the majority of seats in Armenia's one-chamber parliament, quickly voted down the measure. For more information, you can find our full tax return filing guide in English up now on our website at civilnet.am or through the link in the video description below. The head of the company in charge of Armenia's long-stalled Amulsar gold mine project says he forecasts the mine to pay some $120 million in taxes every year and create 750 direct and 4,000 indirect jobs once production begins. Lydian Armenia Executive Director Hayk Aloyan provided those updated figures this week in an interview with the Armenpress news agency. Those numbers would make Amulsar one of Armenia's biggest taxpayers and employers. Amulsar, Armenia's second biggest gold deposit, has been embroiled in political and environmental controversy for years. Lydian first broke ground at Amulsar in 2016, but construction quickly stalled, and nearly a decade on, mining still has not started. After years of inaction, the government breathed new life into the project in early 2023, reaching an agreement with Lydian to move the project forward in exchange for a lucrative 12.5% stake. Then earlier this year, the government granted loan guarantees worth $150 million to Lydian, which says it needs the money to finish building production facilities at the site in Armenia's southeast. After that, Lydian, which is ultimately owned by private equity firms in Canada and the United States, said it expects production to begin in the fourth quarter of this year. Armenia has considerable deposits of copper, gold, and molybdenum, and the mining industry is one of the country's biggest sources of employment and government revenue. Many of Armenia's mines are ultimately controlled by Russian companies. In contrast, Amulsar is the only large-scale Western investment in Armenia since Pashinyan came to power in 2018. For more information, you can find our coverage of the Amulsar issue on our website at civilnet.am. And as always, keep following CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.